Hello everybody, welcome back. Before I get started today, just want to make sure that you're taking a peek down at the links in the description. It has some of my favorite channels that are on YouTube, as well as my secondary channels link that I run with my brother called Broke Outdoors. It's our outdoor channel, make sure you check that out. And there's also a Patreon link down there if you're interested in that. Not necessary, just thought I'd throw it out there. So anyway, make sure you're checking those links, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, make sure you do. So today I've got a Walther PPK S to show you. I actually had a Walther PPK at one point, but you know, it had been a few years ago and I did get rid of it. So I found this PPK S and I had to snag it. There's very few pistols that are more iconic than the PPK, and pretty well copied too. The Makarov and that Hungarian, oh, I don't remember what the Hungarian, Makarov variant, whatever was called, but anyway, a lot was copied right off of this pistol, and it's just pretty. It's a pretty pistol, This was a time when the design really outweighed some of the ergonomics, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but it really was a well put together little gun. Now this particular one is chambered in .380. Now you would see the 32 ACP, 25, and then you have your 22 variants as well. Now the PPK S came about essentially because of the old Gun Control Act, that act we know and love. There are restrictions to things that can be imported, right? And if you don't get enough, positive points on your pistol, you won't be able to import it in the United States. So what Walther did is they took the classic PP, Walther PP frame, and put a PPK slide on that. So the slide on the PPKS is a little bit shorter than the original Walther PP. It just has the longer frame, which is actually fairly nice. My old Walther PPK was, a two-finger grip with a pinky, with like the fancy pinky out. This one you pretty much get a full hand on. Now, if you have larger hands, it's probably not going to be so, but for me, it does. And the grip is actually pretty comfortable. It is pretty comfortable. However, I will say one thing, and this is something that Smith & Wesson addressed when they got the licensing to produce these. They just took that frame and extended it out a little bit so it would protect your hand from that slide bite, which is something that I've had happen to me. The first time I shot this, that slide raked right across that fat part in my hand. So you really got to be cognizant of how you hold this. You gotta get the choke down there so you make sure you don't get that slide bite. It's just something you have to be aware of. But other than that, it feels good in the hand. It's very nice to look at, obviously, but it does fit in the hand pretty well. Magazine fed, obviously. The Walther PPK S holds 7 rounds. The PPK would be 6, so you gain that extra round. Now you are getting a little extra weight. These are, I want to say these are like a little over 22 ounces, which is about the equivalent of an M&P shield. So it's not horrible, but it is kind of weighty. This is a little outdated, so to speak. We have so many other pistols that weigh so much less, maybe offer better capacity. Not a lot of people are fans of the .380 anymore. Most people want 9mm. But again, this is .380. And I will say that a couple of other features, I'm not such a huge fan of the ergonomics. We have the mag release like way up here against the slide. It would be nice if it were down a little further. So whereas I press right here on normally any other modern pistol, I've got to ride my thumb up high, which makes me slightly turn the firearm, so then I'm taking it off my point of aim and then loading another magazine. So anyway, just little things, but again, I want to say 1929, the original design came out. For a design that really hasn't changed much since the late 20s, 30s, it still performs pretty well. So hammer fired instead of no strikers here. Does have a fairly nice trigger to it, although I will say that the double action is long. It's very deliberate. You have to really want to pull it. It is heavy and it is long. But I do find, though, that I'm able to keep pretty well on target with it through that double action pull. But it stacks like a bear, so it's not the most comfortable. The single action, however, is very nice and crisp. The reset, of course, I have the magazine in there, so it will stop on the magazine. Reset is very short. It's a very short reset for that follow-up shot. So you can really pop off quite a few rounds in here, but again, make sure you're keeping that hand low or you're going to get some slide bite. The sight picture, it's not anything special. The sights are pretty small, pretty low profile. They're not the greatest, but they do work. I have shot, I wouldn't call it extremely accurate. I'm not going to put 2-inch groups together with this gun. It just isn't realistic, but it does work. Does employ a safety decocker, so over here, just pull that down. We'll decock the pistol. Now that's safe, so you can't fire it. However, you can manipulate the slide, but if you do manipulate the slide, it's going to keep dropping that hammer. So pull it back up to the fire position, and now you can fire this pistol from double action mode, which then would cycle you back into single action after that. So that's pretty much that. We'll do a slight breakdown. So breakdown of this, you'll pull down on the trigger guard here, just set it slightly up against the frame, pull back on the frame, up and over. We do have the fixed barrel. This is a simple straight blowback design. Recoil spring is over the barrel. Very short barrel, as you see. Internals are, nothing that we haven't seen a few hundred times, right? And then to put it together, just fit the slide back up and over. It goes together, comes apart, goes together pretty darn easily. So it's really not a bad design. It's a bit of a clunker for what we see nowadays. I typically carry a Glock 43 around, a lot lighter, 9mm, which I tend to prefer. But there is something sexy about this pistol. It just makes you want to start humming the James Bond theme song, dun 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 dun. And just sort of carry it around, maybe get a little shoulder holster for it so you can feel sexy, have a little tuxedo gun, But, it's still pretty practical. It looks great. It's kind of a conversation piece if you want to put it that way. But altogether, the pistol still holds up to a lot of what we have today. It's just, some of the ergonomics and the weight just aren't there. And like I was mentioning earlier, this was an age where they made things sleeker. That sort of Art Deco kind of thing. Everything looked cool, but maybe wasn't as ergonomic. Some of the cars, if you've ever seen some of the cars of the era, they look great, but driving them, really? So, again, it just comes down to little things that you learn with time. But this thing has been iconic for a very long time and will continue to be iconic for much longer. So, anyway, I just wanted to kind of go through the Walther PPK here with you, PPK S. Because I really do love this pistol, and like I said, I had a Walther PPK years ago. I had to get rid of it. I wound up finding this one here, and it really is kind of a jewel there, something to be proud of having. I guess before I leave you, I did forget to mention this. So I had talked about Smith & Wesson a little bit. Well, this one was imported, made. InterArms did manufacture a couple of these. I never really looked up to see if this was one of the ones that were imported or specifically made. I don't really care, to be honest, but InterArms stuck straight to what, Walther's specifications. There was also a company in France who did it. I don't remember, there might have been one more, but Smith & Wesson is the only one who holds the licensing now to produce these, and like I said, theirs is just a little different, but InterArms put together some very solid stuff, and I think we'll do a video sometime on the history of InterArms, because it's a really interesting company. So anyway, guys, I want to thank you all for coming by, taking a look at the Walther. Again, Make sure you're checking out the links in the description. If you haven't hit the subscribe button in the channel, please make sure you do that. I appreciate everyone who has subscribed so far. Y'all have been great. I love doing these little videos for you. So anyway, thank you very much for stopping by again, and you'll have a good rest of your day, okay? See you later.